Hello, hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of No Particular Reason. We're up to episode 46, which is very exciting. I am your host, Yanko, and we have my co host, my wonderful co host, Kerri Lewis. And we're very excited to be here on this Friday and this wonderful Friday morning with you guys. Hey,
What's
Kerri, how are you?
I was gonna say, what's going on, Yanko? I
Oh,
am
all right.
amazing. How are you doing?
I'm doing perfect. I'm just fine. I'm actually enjoying this wonderful day. We were catching up before the start. I have my morning cup of coffee, which is good, and we're ready to go and see what we're inspired to talk about today.
Yep, I'm chewing on some lemon rind right now, which is quite delightful. But really, I am working on cutting back my caffeine intake. So I'm drinking lemon water instead, which I love. But you know what? I really love coffee. This just doesn't hit like coffee does.
Right, right. Yeah, coffee keeps me going. I know I know it's addictive, and I've experimented on and off to get off coffee and be without coffee for a couple of months or you know whatever time I feel like, and I see how it's becoming something habitual that keeps me going like a um, almost. Almost like something that I do every day. Not
Oh
not
yeah,
because I
listen,
love it, but just you know.
I love the flavor of coffee. I really, really do. Um, Bring up the topic because we have a guest who is we're having technical difficulties, guys, which no surprise. But if you want to talk about something while I respond,
Yes. So sometimes we have technical difficulties either with internets or with uh, different guests or bringing guests in and all that because we go with the flow. We just go with whatever comes in, and if yep, there you go. So if when things work out, they work out, and if they don't work out, then it wasn't meant to be. So
oh, there we go.
that's about it.
I saw that moving and the shaking by Susan in the background, even though she's not live, but now she is. What's
There you
going
go. There you go.
I'm like, what is up with this computer? My brain.
Hey, listen, brains are overrated. Me and Yanko encourage people to listen with their hearts anyway, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a new computer because my other one, something happened to it, and I'm trying to like learn how to use this new one. It's got all these new things, and I had signed up to Restream a while ago to the account. So every time I was trying to sign into you, it was bringing me into my account, and then I'm like, no, I don't want to be in my account. So when I signed out, it was just crazy. Anyway, whatever.
But you're
Life,
here
right?
now.
I am. Hi, Yanko. Nice to see you.
Hello, hello. Yes,
You
this is very exciting.
I know. I'm so excited. Thank you, Kerri and Yanko, for letting me be here, allowing me to join you guys.
Oh, yeah, yeah, always welcome. We love a good party. But for those who are out there listening, this is Susan Ouellette, who is, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I know that I'm going to butcher it. I know you're an author and a healer and all the things, but
There
Yep.
you
My name
go.
is Susanity Life. I am the owner of Susanity in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, which is a wellness clinic where I do Reiki, polarity, massage, intuitive coaching, different card readings, anything you need to heal yourself from inside.
from inside yourself. We don't know what happened, but we're going to
Oh,
go with
sorry
the
about that. My phone just went off. And I'm an author of 5 books, which I have next to me. But first and foremost, my most important life path, is my kids.
Oh,
My kids. Everything I do from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed has to do with being a mom. after a motorcycle accident in 2015 that pretty much killed me and woke me up in ways I can't even explain. I realized how important life is, right? Because we go through so much stuff all the time. And even now I'm going through something with my mom who's 91, and it's just a lot of stuff. But for me, everything I do from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed, I do like Kerri does, with love and with the ambition to heal as many people as possible that I can, no matter what I have to do, honestly.
You know, the irony of you saying that is not lost upon me,
Hello?
because yesterday I was talking to my cousin Brandy, and we were
What the heck
talking about
happened?
this
Oh
very
my
thing.
God.
Is that I know I'm cracking up, Susan. You keep doing you. But no, seriously, guys, we were talking about how our paths are focused on me being present for my kids, right? And her being present for her kids. And, you know, it's so easy to get lost in the sauce of what does success mean, and what does it look like, and are you achieving enough, and are you
This
producing?
is so ridiculous.
And in that, right, the reality is if I show up as love and I'm present for my kids, I've already succeeded. And I have to remind myself of that, Yanko, because oftentimes I forget that.
That's right. And the only thing you got to really do is to just to be present.
Yes.
What I think.
Yep.
There you
And
go.
that's
Welcome
just the
back.
hiccups of life.
Just
Hi.
so just
Did you
so you
even hear me?
know.
Because I'm like, my phone beeped
No,
off. I'm like,
we were hearing you. Okay.
Oh yeah,
We
we
just
heard
lost the
you.
video for a
okay.
second.
But anyway, my response to that was really, I love that you shared that, because it was a conversation I was having with my cousin yesterday, and that it's easy to lose sight of staying in love and being present, particularly for your children. And when I ask myself, you know, what my priority is, I always come back to not influencing my children's decisions, but being present to witness their growth.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
And you,
It's
Yanko,
hard because my phone, people keep calling me. Sorry, I put it on focus, but my phone's not even working today. This is a crazy day. But anyway, whatever. So it's hard because, can you guys hear me?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, this phone. That's why I wanted to
So,
be on my computer.
so it's hard because, Yanko, go ahead. I know you're present with your kids, your kid, your
I
son.
think you guys can still hear me. I have no idea, but
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna go back in again
we can see
because
you and
this
we
is
can
so.
hear you. So
Okay, good. Sorry, my phone.
yeah. So as long
That's why I
as
wanted to be on my computer, because
as
I knew my phone would be ringing off the wall.
oh yeah,
Anyways.
that happens from time to time. So, but the good news is that we can hear you and see you, and our audience can hear you and see you. And if you can't see us, that's okay too. So as long
Okay,
as
perfect. Then I'll just keep
yeah,
talking.
yeah,
See?
there you
So
go.
yeah, Kerri. So yeah, I mean, it was hard for me, I think, because, all my life, even as a kid, like I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have the fantasy, from like, the movies you see, and like, what are some of the movies? The Little Mermaid, which that wasn't even when I was young, when I was old, different stuff like that. Like there was so many things that I believed to be true, right? And they weren't. It was all a fantasy. And when I wrote my books with Abby Hagyard, she talked me through all that, and then so what ended up happening to me was this. So I was kind of like going on my journey, like a lot of us do very often. And then I kept getting like little, I call them nudges, like this little nudge, like, all right, you need to go this way now. And I'd be like, all right. And they'd be like, nah. And they'd be like, nope, you really need to go this way. And I'd be like, nah. It was like a revolving door of yes, no, maybe. So I don't know, And so I kept doing it. And some of the choices I made were with alcohol. Some of the choices I made were with drugs. I mean, the only drug I think I didn't try was, well, heroin, which I'm surprised I didn't, because, but that was one of the drugs I didn't try. But alcohol was a big crutch for me. Or people, people that I dated, people I became friends with. It got to be the point where it was so much about them that it was no longer about me, that makes any sense. So
Yeah.
in 2015, I was in the middle of a divorce. My ex-husband had just struggled with stage 3 esophageal stomach cancer that I brought him to Boston. And luckily he's still alive. Thank you, for 10 years. And three things that happen, and everything in my life always happens in threes for some reason. And someone that I was very deeply cared for was on his way to see me and crashed a motorcycle and almost died. My nephew, a week later, had a tragic situation in his life. And then I decided to get on a motorcycle, and probably an hour and a half being on it, I was off it. 48 hours later, I woke up in the hospital and I couldn't feel my legs. I didn't know who I was or what I was or where I was or anything. During speech therapy, I remember, and I laugh about this now because it was definitely not easy for me to go through this, but at the same time, I knew that I had to, if that makes any sense.
It does.
So I was in speech therapy, and we were playing that game that I used to play with the kids all the time. My kids were still young, by the way, at this time, because this was in 15. And we were playing memory. I couldn't play memory. We were playing Simon. I couldn't play Simon. And then she showed pictures of things, and like a phone. I couldn't even tell you what a phone was. Like, that's how much I don't even know where I was, another realm or wherever I was. And so I went to occupational therapy, which I am an occupational therapy assistant for over 30 years, off and on, physical therapy, all that stuff. It wasn't until 2019 that I finally was like, something doesn't feel right, after I decided to go off of the medications, which I tried many times to go off my medicines. I couldn't, because I was on them since 2003, really. And then in 2019, a friend of mine showed up at my door. Let me in. I'm like, no. He was in direct sales and network marketing at the time. I had decided I didn't want anything to do with that. And he's like, let me in, Sue. So I let him in, and he came in and he had this product, and it was from this company from Utah. And I started to take it. It was called the Triangle of Health, right? And when I started to take it, something inside of me changed. So I kept taking it. And I was like, I kept taking it and taking it. And after like the 4th month of taking it, I heard that little voice say, I went to take one of my meds, oxycodone, OxyContin, gabapentin, Selexol, Butyrate, Adderall, Klonopin, lorazepam, trazodone, you name it. I was on it. And I heard no. I never heard no so loud in my life. I heard no. And I closed the bag and I took my Kyani, and I haven't been on meds since.
I love that.
Once in a while, I do. I have, because sometimes when you go through things in your life again, whether it's your son who's leaving for the Marines, or your mother who is, you have to take care of her, or it's another son that goes to school and then decides to get engaged, or you lose a job or a relationship. Like, sometimes there's certain times where you have to take something, right? That's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that, because I have had to take Klonopin before to help me sleep, because my mind is like tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, shut up, Susan. You know what I mean? And so, but I try not to as much as I can, because I don't really want that in my body. And truthfully, I have even stopped completely drinking, because to me, all that does is bring me lower than I want to be. And the last thing in the world that I want to be is any lower than I am now, because of Kerri, and because of Yanko, and because of Abby, and because of these friends that I found that are now like, we're so linked, like this connection of like light, that like, I don't want to not be with anybody like that. When I'm with somebody that's not like that, I'm like, ooh, all right, what do I need to be in this path for? Because they're in my life.
That's right.
And I don't know. And then it kind of like turns around again, you know?
I wanted to say that
God,
it's like that.
Come on, click back
We
on.
can, yeah, we can still hear you. You okay? We can see you.
Anyway, I
As long
can't
as
hear
you
you
can
guys.
hear us.
Hopefully it will click back on, but I hope that gave some insight into me a little bit more.
It did, yes. That was a good insight. Let's see if your audio comes back up. I'm gonna talk a little bit to see if everything works out and comes back. And hopefully it will.
I lost you guys again. This is crazy. Ugh.
Well, so I want to touch upon something that Susan said for the listening audiences. You know, we have the choice to surround ourselves with what feels good for us. And then in that awareness of what feels good for us, it challenges us to show up differently, to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone and be present in a way that we haven't been before. And so I love that Susan was sharing that, you know, she's surrounding herself with people who elevate her experience so that she can then hold herself accountable, because ultimately we're responsible for our own being, right? And uh, you know, make choices that feel more supportive and support, like nurtures us rather than brings us down into what I have experienced in my own personal life is like the abyss of suffering.
Right.
Oh,
And what I wanted to add to that is that, everyone does whatever it's good for them. There is no like a one way, this is the right way, or this way, or there's no other way to do it. And because we're not doctors and we're not healing people, we're not in the business of telling people what kind of drugs to take or not to take or how to take it. um, you know Obviously drugs are not good for anybody, or um, being dependent on something, it's not good.
mm-mm.
Now I can relate to that because I never been dependent to alcohol or any drugs except cigarettes. I've smoked for many years, and there was finally a time when one night I woke up and I couldn't breathe in my sleep, and I said, okay, this is it. Like, I'm not even 30 or 40 at that time, and I can't breathe, and I'm waking up in the middle of the night, and I was like, okay, this is it. Like, I gotta kick him off. And just like that, I quit smoking.
Speaking of smoking, I totally smoked out my room with a massive
Yeah, now I
sage
lost the
fence
sound.
right
This is
now. So
ridiculous.
I am actually uh infused with this beautiful
I'm just
smoke
gonna keep.
right now that is bringing me a lot of joy and making me laugh. Anyway, um I don't know, Yanko. I'm not gonna lie, listening audience. I'm very distracted by the going ons and offs of Susan's camera, so I'm trying to stay present and focused. But I'm being challenged to accept what's going on right now, but keep my train of thought, and it's challenging me slightly.
No, it's not challenging to me at all, because things like that happen, and this is why we go with the flow. And if something like that
I mean, my
happens,
phone keeps like
um,
blinking off. I can't hear you guys. I'm like, what
I,
is the
I,
matter? Like, so this is what I feel. I feel like very often when you figure all of this out, like Kerri, Yanko, me, so many other amazing people that are like finding that sense of self inside, it's almost like we get these like challenges, like, all right, let's give her or him this and see how they handle it. Let's
mhm,
give her or him that
mhm,
and see how they handle it. I mean, I
that's
just
right.
recently went through something, yeah, really catastrophic, not catastrophic, that's a crazy word, but I just went through something last year, and I don't know why I went through it. Kerri knows what I'm talking about, but it was definitely a wake up call that I was like, wow, I wonder why this didn't happen when I was 20 years old, and it happened when I'm in my 50s. That I needed to deal with this message, but I did, and I know now why, and I'm grateful for it because it brought me to another part of me. Right, the relationships that I've been in. I mean, I was married for 16 years, to somebody who was a wonderful person, but was he my person? For a while, absolutely. Do I love my kids for him? Absolutely. Am I with someone currently? Absolutely. And he's an amazing person, but is he my person? I'm not sure yet. I mean, it hasn't been that long, so, but I'm giving it a chance to see. And Kerri knows too about him, but because we talk all the time, me and Kerri, but, and Yanko, hopefully you and I will too soon. But, I just feel like the trajectory of life is sometimes so difficult, but if we think of it not so difficult, and I have 3 words that I write down all the time when I do anything now, because Abby helped me with this. Like, I always think to myself 3 things. What is it for? What does it matter? And who does it serve? Because everything I do, I feel like is on adrenaline most times. Kerri probably knows about me too. I have an adrenaline feeling like I need this thing always to be happening. You know what I mean? And when I finally take time to silence myself, my 60-second reset, or to sit on my couch corner and watch Angel Network or Pure Flix or any of those Christian stations that I love, or I go to church on a Sunday because I want to, or I just go outside today because the sun's out. I need to make sure that I take time for me. And I think a lot of times we don't do that. And I say this to people all the time, like, why is it when we are going through something in our life, and maybe you guys feel this too, that we let go of the one thing that makes us the happiest, whether it's the gym, going out with friends, writing a book, taking a nap, drinking that awesome drink, eating that chocolate cake, like, like Bill Cosby's show, whatever that show. What was that show? What was that show? I
I
forget
have
the
no
show. But anyway, the
idea,
Cosby show.
girlfriend.
The
What's
Cosby
in
show.
the
The Cosby show.
chocolate cake?
You can't have chocolate cake. I mean, like, why? Why can't you have chocolate cake? Why can't you have
Wow.
a special drink? Why can't? So, but do it within reason, and understand why you're doing it before you do it, so that it means something to you and you're not doing it for someone else. And Kerri helps me with this, because there's so many times that I've called her and she's like, Susan, and let's go back a little bit so I can bring you back a little bit, because she knows how to do that with me. And my Abby, the one that helped me with my books, she does the same thing. And my friend Amy, who I love 100%, does the same thing. And the guy that I'm dating, he could do it now too, but it's hard to let somebody in and allow that part of you to be out. That's part of your soul. It's so hard.
And
Well,
yet
that's
it's
why.
in that vulnerability that you learn deeper connection. It's interesting. I share all the time with people. Yeah, the reality is I still to this day face rejection at times. Of course, because I'm a loud, bold personality, and I swear all the time. I just rub up against certain people's belief systems and senses, and that's really okay. However, in showing up and being vulnerable, I also open myself up for incredible relationships. Those people who can, very much like I do for you and you do for me and Yanko does for me, remind us to come back to self. And that's a gift we give each other. Is it's not that our job, any of us, is to tell people how to live, how to show up, what feels right for them. It's to remind them of their own unconditional love and their gift of presence in the world, but particularly for me, and that is harder to viscerally achieve, to feel, to know, if you close yourself off from that connection, because then it's not it feels harder to receive, and it's certainly much harder to extend of yourself and be of service to people from that perspective, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that the one of the biggest lessons I learned, which I don't know if anyone else has ever learned this lesson, but I definitely, Yanko, when I talked to Yanko too, it was amazing. Like, he gave me some insight too and things, but was learning about narcissism. Like, I had no idea that even existed. Like, I didn't even know what it was. Like, I did, I met somebody, I thought that, oh, he's my person, like, oh, the souls are connected, or oh, this, or all that. Because I was always, especially after the accident, because I was like, why am I here? Why was I saved? Because one of the things I didn't say was that I had this out of body experience. I don't know if it was whether I went to heaven or I call it home or what, but my dad had passed away in 1993. He got in a car accident years when I was like 1. And he was in a wheelchair his whole life. And so in 1993, right before he died, I said to him, that's when I decided to be an occupational therapy assistant. And there was so many trajectories that I was going down at that point. But during my accident, if you ever seen like near-death experiences, or those movies like What Dreams May Come, Heaven is for Real and all that, I experienced that, and I didn't believe it at first, but I was like, this is, come on now, really, like, you know what, this is crazy. But I saw my dad who died, and we danced in heaven, and it was the most my heaven, which was in my head, which is in my, because heaven, head, heaven, head,
I love it. I love it. The way you're
hell,
describing
feet,
it,
heaven,
and
hell,
yeah,
head, feet, right? So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
so wherever I was, whether it was I was sleeping or whatever it was, I was there, and I danced with my father. And I remember three things that happened. We danced because it's all I wanted, because when he passed away and they walked by his casket, I said to probably hundreds of people, it's okay, because someday I'll get to dance with my dad in heaven. Someday my dad will be walking and I'll get to dance with him in heaven. Because it's all I ever wanted as a little girl, was to dance with my father, to do things with my father that I couldn't do, right? Even though I blamed him for my whole life. That's a whole nother story. But anyways, that's I learned how to not do that. But anyway, so I heard it's not your time, but it is your choice. After he
That's
tapped me
right.
on the butt, time to go, time to go. And then I saw my kids, and then I saw myself on the ground covered in blood. And I heard, but if you go back, it won't be easy. And I must have said, well, let's go. I guess my contract isn't over or whatever, right? But and so I woke up 48 hours later in the hospital, and I couldn't feel my legs. And in my mind, I was like, oh, great, now I'm going to be in a wheelchair. But luckily, for whatever reason, I wasn't. I was for months and months and months, but I slowly got my legs back, my hearing back, my taste back 5 years later, my ability to, be me again, which I guess I really wasn't being. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it all out every day. I try to figure things out. But,
that gives you a great appreciation for now, right? Like
yeah.
after going through that, because
Yeah.
I had something similar happen to me. I had a near death experience, and in that moment when I was dying, my ego was dying. It was thinking like, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, and then all of a sudden I'm fine, and it's like nice, and I'm thinking I'll do better next time. And then I get the whole like not like a movie, but kind of like a life review where you like start from the beginning and you go to where you are, and you realize that the whole thing was for nothing. You were just like, almost like in suspense. And at that moment, I think I realized that I wasted a lot of time, whatever that is. And I was like, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
don't know. I think a lot of us at times have those experiences. And every time I meet someone and I tell them my story, it's such a beautiful thing, because this is your what is your story? Like that's what my books are about. Like, what is your story? That's what this show is about. What is your story? We're all trying to come together so people can know it's okay to tell your story. Good, bad, ugly. We all have stuff, right? But it's interesting how when people have that out of body type experience, they don't talk about it until you do. And they're like, oh, that happened. We talked about it. Me and Yanko did when I was on the phone with him a little while ago, and he told me what he does for a living and all that, like hypnotism and all that stuff, like, which was amazing. We had that connection. So I was like, oh, well, okay, now I know why I'm connected to him. And then Kerri told me some things, and we had that connection. And then a couple other people in my life that I didn't know at all had the same experience. So I was like, huh, yeah.
And it can get even stranger when you meet somebody and you have the feeling that that somebody from somewhere, and it's like an old friend that's coming up, but you don't know where this old friend from, and you just kind of vibe and everything. It's like I don't know. It's weird when that happens.
Yeah.
But it happens. At least to me, it happens.
Yeah, exactly. And Kerri's in my heart and my soul now. Like, there's no way that her and I are not going to be connected. I feel it. Like, I feel it every time we're together. She's like that voice that sometimes I don't want to hear.
Mm.
I told that a lot.
That gives me like that nudge. And I can't wait till she meets my friend Amy, because Amy is exactly like that. But she doesn't do it in a mean way. She just does it so that I can think a little bit more and understand it a little bit more without like hurting me. Whereas a lot of the people that I chose in my life, I chose, I guess, because I was still searching for myself inside or something, but they weren't like that. they would say things in a mean way and to harm me. And that's not anything anyone should ever want for their life. And if the people are doing that, you need to be like, listen, I love you. I will send you love from afar or whatever. But that,
From
nope,
afar.
that's from over here.
I
So
love
I'm
that.
just know better than that. But it's hard to do that if we've been friends for 35 years, or we've had friends that are new that we feel like are meant to be a part of our path. And as healers ourselves, it's hard to do that sometimes until you're like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a practice. For me, I discern a lot, and people mistake my ability to like disengage as a judgment, but it's not. It's about me. It's about what nurtures my soul, what feels right for me. And I really work towards just curiosity, watching people, being able to observe their energy and see what space they're in. But I also know what serves me.
Yeah.
And I am comfortable saying, I've outgrown this. This no longer works for me anymore, and I walk away. And that has even been the story of how I've parented with my kids and how I engage with my kids. And my two daughters, have had their challenges with that, the way in which I show up now, because it's different from what they know. And yet, as I honor myself in love, as I honor myself in peace and tranquility, they receive so much more than I gave them when I was showing up in a way that I outgrew. And so it really is giving yourself permission to, one, not stay stuck. I said this the other day. I think that we get this idea that we're the same people every day, and we're not. I am a different person in each moment. I will be a different person having had this conversation. I am a different person having gone through, I don't know, burning my comforter from saging it too much. That's the reality. And when we give ourselves permission to just be what we are in this moment, we're at peace, we're in presence, we're connected. When we assume that we need to be or present or we are a certain way, then we don't get to experience the fullness of the unfolding right now, because we've made up a story and a judgment around how things need to be or what it needs to look like.
Yeah.
And so that's why I have no problem saying, even bye to myself. I mean, sometimes I make myself want to puke, man. I love myself. I really do. But I get into that space where I'm like, oh, this is someone there. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really? You're stuck back there? And I laugh. I'm just like, I see, that's an old pattern I still need to flush out. And that's where I love to laugh, because
Yeah.
then I could just laugh at myself. And to Yanko's point, I'm like, it's so not that serious. Like, you're stuck on this story, and it's really not that deep. So can you just give yourself grace and keep it moving?
Yeah. So when I opened Susanity, of course, so anyway, I went back to school for massage. After I went off the drugs, I was still trying to figure out what to do with my life, because I didn't know in my heart if I wanted to go back and do therapy, because I just could feel like a shift. I don't know. I feel a lot of shifts. We all feel a lot of shifts, right? And so I went back to school in 2019 for massage. And when I was there, I learned about polarity. And then I'm a Reiki. I already had learned about Reiki in 2016. So it all kind of came to fruition. But during school, of course, it was the pandemic. It was during 2021. And I still was like, you know what? This is not going to set me back. Normally, I would have probably quit and been done. But I was like, no. And so I ended up graduating in 2020, which is when I finished the 5 books in the same month. It was crazy. And then I opened my practice in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, in officially in April. And I do all the things that I said earlier. But this was the hardest part for me with that, because now I feel like I'm saved. Oh, I'm this person. Oh my God, I've got to give, 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 give. I was giving, 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 but not realizing that I was giving away more of myself, even more than I did before I even had the accident. So I'm like, well, this is stupid. What am I doing? And I realized one thing during that time is that you can do that. You can have an energy exchange, but don't forget to clear the energy too. Don't forget to ground yourself, whether it's walking in the grass with bare feet, whether it's hugging a tree, whether it's taking an Epsom salt bath, whether it's putting some eucalyptus in the shower because it's very good for your oxygen levels, and it's good for your nose, and it's good for all kinds of. So when you hang it in the water for that, whether it's doing meditation on YouTube or doing meditation, whether it's going for a walk or going to the gym or whatever it is, so that you can let go of that stuff. Because when I wasn't doing that and I was trying to push it on to people, nope, you have to believe this. You have to, people were like, yeah, okay, she's crazy. That's not happening. And I had to learn that too. And I still learn that. That's definitely a learning thing for me still, because when people come to the clinic, it's an hour session, right? How long do you?
And I was gonna ask you, like, and can you tell our audience? Can you tell our audience what happens when you don't do that?
I go to bed at 6 o'clock at night. I come home and I'm crying. I'm holding on to all of these stories that they've told me, right? Because they fill out the intake professionally, the physical intake. So
That's
now
right.
I know what their diagnoses are, what they're holding on to. Well, because of the energy work that I do, every single physical symptom they're telling me, I'm already knowing what chakra's broken, what this is broken, where their aura is at, like all these things. And so now I'm like, oh, I want to get in there. I want to just wake them up. And I can't do that. If they're saying, Susan, I want a Swedish massage, I only do a Swedish massage. If they say, Sue, I want a deep tissue, I only do that now, which I've been doing now for a little bit over a year and a half. If they come for Reiki or polarity, I'm only doing that. And I ask first, always.
That's
asking
right.
you shall receive, right? Asking you shall receive. If you don't ask, you can't receive.
Well, not
So
only that.
I ask. I say, so I do this and this and this. I could do this, but I also could do this. And based on your intake, you might need this. Are you ready for it? And if they say
Right.
no, I say, okay.
Yeah.
But that's
And this is kind of a tough thing to um, swallow, because you can do so much for some people, but then you realize that you're robbing them out of that experience if they're not ready, if they haven't realized it and they haven't worked on their stuff. You can take it away, but it's like doing their homework. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, like I can, get you to the next level and get this going and everything, but like then you got to pump the brakes and say, all right, is it me proving myself that I can do this, or am I, like, robbing him of that experience? And sometimes it's hard to see people sitting and suffering and not learning from the experiences, and just have to be like okay with that, and like you said, ask for permission before you do anything, because
and this goes back to this why it goes back right to you guys, because Kerri is a perfect person for this, because she understands how to get into that part of somebody's ego, let's just say, and be like, look, this is your ego talking. So if you want to be there, that's great. But that's not, you need to figure out if that's what you're doing. And that's why her and I connect on such a level when we have conversations. I love it because it makes me think like, oh, maybe she's right. Because if I am doing that for people and I'm not asking for permission, then I'm not doing it for them.
right.
I'm doing it for me.
Yep.
And I'm not doing that I haven't done that in a little while, but well, with friends, that would be a lie, because I've done it with, not recently with friends, but I had done it after I stopped doing it in the business with friends, because I need that, but I don't anymore. But I mean, it took a little time to figure that out. And maybe our viewers or listeners go through that stuff. Like right now, you guys know, like there's a huge going on right now, which is why they're finding people like us, healers, in every way, shape, or form, because they're searching for that thing inside that's like, why do I feel like I haven't found my purpose? Why do I feel like there's something where I'm supposed to be doing? Why do I keep getting hurt by the same people that I date? Why do I keep getting hurt by my why is nothing making sense? That's what kind of everybody is right now. And having conversations like coaching and hypnotism with Yanko, like that stuff is where you can regenerate your cells of your body and not worry about financial part of it. Because you know what? If you really need something and you really need abundance, the divine, whatever you believe, actually, it's so funny. I'm going to read the back of this, if that's okay. I bought these books, right? It says, what if spirit, God, Quantum Fred, the dude, or whatever name you choose to call
The
the big
dude.
intelligence that breathes the thoughtful could talk to you, wouldn't you just love knowing that the almighty energy force can help you? Like these cards that I bought, I just found them when I went to like this polka dot thing. Anyways, but I was like, yeah, so God, spirit, dude, quantum and Fred energy or whatever is you. It's all
That's right.
you.
That's
It's
right.
all you. You are that inner person. And when you realize that, it's like, you you don't ever want to go back to that other part. You just don't.
Right. Yeah.
You
And
don't.
I think part of that comes from when people come in to have this human experience. They start going after the shiny things outside, and you go like, "Ooh, ooh, ooh! Oh, look at this! Oh, look at that! Or, and they forget like what's going on within, and then everything starts to go the other way around because you're like always looking for validation outside. You're always looking for something outside, and but you have everything within, and you kind of like go to the point when something, or for some people, something has to shake him to go back and say, hang on, let's pump the brake and see like where's this coming from, like why is this happening, why am I even doing here? It can't be like just I'm here to just make money or buy houses or do all this other nonsense. There could be like something else going on,
Mm-hmm.
and that usually turns it around. and
Yeah.
and that goes back to what I was saying about the experience of robbing somebody out of the experience, because it's okay if people are still having their experience of like doing this and not finding themselves, or not learning the lessons, or doing whatever they're doing because that's their journey. Everyone has a different journey, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like in school you have different grades, and some people are in first grade, some people are in sixth grade, and everybody's like just going through the whole thing, and it's okay. So at least that's how I see it.
Oh, yeah, and I think, it's interesting. For me, I really work to cultivate just love. And that's really how we hold space for people, is when you can just be in the presence of love, and there's no hidden agenda, there's no expectation that you be something that you're not. There's no um judgment, then that gives people the ability to get curious about themselves, right? And instead of judging themselves, because I think so often the lens is we're so hypercritical of ourselves and our behaviors and stuff. And when you have somebody who mirrors back at you your perfection, then that gives you permission to consider a different perspective and potentially make choices to decide to love yourself, or to be open to what feels good for you, rather than lean into the conditions, habits, and behaviors that you've operated on because that's what you've been taught, right? Through no fault of your own. And that's why I show up all the time and have these conversations, because I want people to recognize you're right. We are limitless. Limitless. Yanko and I talk all the time about the fact that even beliefs, any belief is limiting, because we live in a limitless world. So literally can cultivate anything in our experience. It's just learning how to be aware of the energy you're in, how to shift out of that energy, what stories are keeping you in that energy, and then connecting with higher frequencies that make you feel joyful, filled with love, compassion, and things of that nature. Because one thing I will tell you guys, the universe, the dude, which I love because I think about the movie Fear and Loathing. No, what is some movie anyway? Is it's all love. It's selfless and it's loving. And that's a space that I cultivate and work within, because that matches the energy of divine.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead. I know
what
you got a
what
thought.
what
I see your eyes twitching over there, Yanko.
No, I was gonna say that it goes back to what Susan was saying right at the beginning, that you gotta find time for yourself and find out what do you want, and it's not selfish thing to do. And by just going and giving and giving and giving and not balancing yourself, can have negative impact of your whole being, because there's always energy exchange. And the way I see it personally is that you start the day with a full tank of gas, if that's the energy, and then if you go through it half through the day, then rest of the day you're lethargic and there's nothing going on. You don't feel like doing anything at all.
Yeah.
So the more you go within and the more you find what really matters, and not going for the shiny things or whatever, and you stay on target, then you can be mindful of where your energy goes and have um, better better outcome of like how you want the day to look like, or what you want to achieve through the day. Because like if you concentrate and something pops up, and that's part of the learning process too, if something, because there'll always be distractions, something will come out, you haven't planned for it. And that's why I love to say that the map is not the territory. So if something comes up, like you recognize it, you see it, and you're like, yeah, okay, we'll get to you back, like later on today or whatever, and you stay on course. And that helps you kind of nurture that self. And a lot of the times we just don't value ourselves, and that's where it comes from. Like, we don't have appreciation for ourselves. We always want to give and help other people, but you know that way we're kind of doing self-harm, because we're not valuing ourselves and saying, I am less important than you, and therefore I'm just gonna not take care of myself and help you. But then by not taking care of yourself, you're not serving anybody. And it goes like, like what they say on the flights. You have to put your air mask first to be able to help the other. Because if you can't help yourself, how are you going to be capable to helping anybody else?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's interesting nowadays too, because I don't know if you guys feel this or not, but a lot of the younger generations they're getting it more and faster. And I think that at least that's what I've seen. They're like, I'm all about crystals, and I'm all about like my necklace, because it's got all my chakras on it. But I'm also about my cross necklace. Like, I have all these things that I feel that I enjoy for myself. And I I noticed when I did like the Brimfield antique show and stuff like that over the summer, and that a lot of these little ones, like 6 years old and 5 years old, like they were coming up. And I one gentleman had his daughter get a massage, and she was like 11. He's like, do you mind doing a chair massage on my daughter? And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, oh yeah. And so of course she could feel my energy. So when she got off the table, I was like, you're such a beautiful soul. And she said, thank you. And I said, don't forget your gifts. And she's like, I won't. And she tootled around with her dad. I mean, it was the sweetest little thing. And so I think that now is the time, especially 2025. 2024 was tough, let's face it. We had so many things, but 2025, I'm hoping and praying that this is going to be a much better year, and that people will be willing to see that it's okay to have differences, and it's okay to look and find what it is that you really are searching for. And if something doesn't work for you, then it's okay to say, okay, I learned my lesson, or I get it, no thank you, I'm good, and or not. Like, I mean, it's totally your decision. I mean, we live in our heart, that's our creator is. It's like this feeling of love that you just, I don't know, like a Kerri's all love, 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 and me too. And I think you are too, Yanko. I think that when you do everything that you do with love, then you've, I don't know, it's just the best feeling ever. Even if somebody does hurt you, and you still like, okay, well, maybe they're going, like, I think, oh, Kerri was on, I think I talked about this when Kerri was on my show, which I loved. When somebody was behind me the other day, and I'm driving down the road, and they're tailgating me. And normally I'm like, what the heck, why? Then I slow down. But this time, now what I do every single time someone's tailgating me, I pull over. if I'm in a space to pull over. Because I mean, why get mad about the fact that that person's in a rush, or because I don't know what's happening. Maybe they need to get to school to pick up their child. Maybe someone just went to the hospital. Maybe something's going on that I don't know. Right. It's the same thing when someone's in front of me, when people drive slow. Maybe they got a ticket. Maybe they got pulled over. Maybe they don't want to get another ticket. I mean, there's so many reasons why things happen. And if you remove yourself from that ego thing to get and you put yourself into that space, into their space or whatever, it feels so much better. And so now I just do that. When someone's tailgating me, I literally pull over. I'm like, go bye, have a great day, sending blessings, because I would rather do that than go to my clinic, be like, I don't want to be there anymore. I don't like it. It's not a fun
you know
feeling.
what? You bring up two things that I want to highlight for the listening audience, and feel free to jump in. But one is, you were sharing about your crystals and your cross and all the things that feel right for you. And I was having this conversation with a group that I'm working with to support building something. And this woman, Marlene, said something that I was just like, yes, 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 you get it. God is a full expression of individuality. And so what serves Susan and what serves Yanko may not serve me. Not everybody may vibe with skulls. And that's okay. And this journey, right, to spirituality, I think we get lost in this. Oh, you sound bowls and no, right? Spirituality, fundamentally, guys, is our own spontaneous expression of love, right? So it doesn't have to be all one way or another. It's what feels really, really good for you. And I think it's super important because there's a lot of confusion around what being awoken is or how you have to show up. No, our gift is our individuality in the collective.
Yeah.
We're one, but we're uniquely different in that space of one, and that is limitlessness. That's why everybody's different, and that's why embracing it is so profoundly powerful, because when you allow yourself to do and feel and be what feels right for you, you're giving the gift of that loving energy to the universe, to the collective. That is just such a gift, right? And then the other thing you highlight that I want to point out for the listening audience is a choice. Every moment we have a choice. So Susan talks about where she recognized that she was having a response from her lower self, her thinking self, about the guy behind her or person. And then she made a choice to come from love. And guys, this is me all the time. I really want you guys to understand this. I am not above having a thought of judgment. I am not above responding from ego. I do it all the time. The only difference in my experience than maybe some other people is that I recognize it immediately, and then I decide to come from love. So I'm like, oh, that's a judgment, and I can go down that path, but it feels icky, sticky, and keeps me in a low vibration, and I just don't like it. Or I can choose to surrender the thought that I had, not good, bad, right, wrong, just a thought, and then show up back in love. And that's the work, guys, is, just in each
Oh
moment,
my God,
getting
what the heck?
curious, not judging yourself for how you respond in human form, but just being aware of that and then deciding you want to experience something different. And that's the work I encourage people to do. With that, we're about to end. So, Susan, do you have anything that you want to share with the listening audience?
I mean, if they want more information about me or want to know more about me, I'm an open book. I mean, there's really not my obviously I just told you about almost everything, not everything, but some things. My website is susanitylife.com. I'm on Facebook on Susan T. Ouellette, on this channel, Susanity Life. And yeah, I mean, I do card readings if anyone needs that. I do distant Reiki, which I love doing. So even if you don't live here and you're looking for that energy boost, I can do that for you too. And I'm grateful. And I give so much love to all of you. And I give love to Yanko and Kerri for, this amazing opportunity. And yeah, just thank you so much.
I love it. For me, guys, I'm going to jump in and say that Gail Kraft and I are hosting another event in Braintree, Massachusetts, Show You Spark Studio, February 8th. I believe it starts at 9, but don't quote me because I could be wrong. But you know what? If you're curious about the delight in being you, like just having fun and getting curious and building connection, we're going to start it off with a cacao ceremony, and we'd love to see you there if that feels right for you. Lastly, for me, again, guys, you can't feel good when you're condemning yourself. You can't learn from your behaviors and patterns when you're sitting in judgment of yourself and belittling yourself. So if you find yourself saying unkind things to yourself, if you can't be kind to yourself, lean into somebody who can be kind to you until you learn to be kind to yourself, because it is in that space of love that you'll experience massive shift and change. And lastly, laugh a ton, because really at the end of the day, it's laughter that connects, heals, and raises your energy to do the hard work that it takes to come to love sometimes.
That's right. And all I want to say is that the time is now. So, find out who you are. Find out who you are. The time is now. There's no other time. And let's let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do
Let's
it.
do
Let's
it.
do
Yeah, I
it.
want to thank everybody for sticking around, watching our show. Please send us your comments, thoughts. We'll have our info on the description below the video. We'll also share contact information for Susan on the description on our end. And we're wishing you a wonderful weekend.